What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Beyond the Bench podcast. This is going to be the second episode. I'm here with Nick today for our
What's up,
first
guys?
section.
How are we?
We're going to be talking about the NFL, some news, and then we're going to get into some predictions for the divisional round.
Should be fun.
First thing I want to talk about is how quickly the Cowboys and the Eagles both collapsed.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm a Giants fan, so that's the
As am
best
I.
thing that could have happened. The best thing.
It was just so fun to watch.
It was, because both of their offenses could not get anything going the entire time.
The Cowboys at least picked it up in the end, but it was all to Jake Ferguson.
Yeah.
It was 3 touchdowns to Jake Ferguson.
And Aaron Jones had, 4 touchdowns? 3?
I think so. I think he had 3.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's just... Yeah, it was a relatively close game. No, it was close for Jake Ferguson.
It wasn't close at halftime. Did you see what Kyle Shanahan was saying?
No, I didn't.
So in a press conference, he was asking, how they were preparing for the
Packers.
The Packers, thank you. And he goes, "Yeah, we started preparing for them at halftime of the Packers Dallas game."
That's insane. The shade.
I know, it's crazy. Because at least the Cowboys showed a little bit of life, but not the Packers. The Eagles, the Buccaneers defense shut them down to nothing.
Insane.
They had that one play to Devonta Smith, but other than that, there was nothing.
It was unbelievable. I kept checking back, and the Buccaneers kept racking up the score.
Yeah.
I guess.
The Buccaneers played great. Then they deserved that win all the way. But oh my God,
Baker found his place. It seems like
Baker did find his place.
Finally, 4 teams. I think I saw a stat the other day. So he's been through 8 head coaches since getting in the league. 4 with the Browns.
Yep.
But it's just crazy. And going back to the Cowboys, do you think this means the end of Mike McCarthy?
I think people are overreacting too much. I think even though I don't like the Cowboys, I think Mike McCarthy is a great coach. They've had a winning season, every single season under him, and their defense have been a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense every single year under him. I think people are overreacting. I think a playoff win will come, but they need to figure out eventually. But I think they need to figure out their situation first. But I don't think that means to fire Mike McCarthy. I really don't.
Even with Bill Belichick being available, because I've been hearing rumors that they might want him.
I've been saying this to you before, but I think Bill Belichick's past his prime. I don't think he's going to change a team. And I could be wrong. Come back to me in 3 years if he's still coaching, if he wins a Super Bowl. But I strongly think that Tom Brady carried that team because it's not a coincidence.
We've had this conversation many times.
It's not a coincidence. The seasons after he left, the Patriots have not had a winning season.
And the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Tom Brady won a Super Bowl his first season with the Bucs. So it's not something that I think should be considered. Like the team for the Falcons, yes, because I saw that the Falcons are interviewing him. They don't have a good head coach to begin with.
Right. So you don't think like a team that doesn't need one should go out and get Belichick because he's Bill Belichick?
I think if you have, I think a name carries you so far. He's 69, 70?
Something around
there.
I
think something at that age is just It's a different coaching style now,
Yeah, which I guess brings me to the next point. Do you think it was right? It was time for the Seahawks to fire Pete Carroll.
I don't know if it was a decision within the organization. I don't know if it was Pete Carroll's decision. I don't know who made the decision, but I still think Pete Carroll could have probably coached for a couple of years because the guy's 72. If you watch NFL Mic'd Up on YouTube or whatever,
he doesn't seem like it.
You can see him running down the sidelines, screaming at the refs, hyping up his players. It's a different type of guy with that.
It's not like they've been playing bad either.
They didn't have that bad of a season.
Everybody counted them out this year, and they were in playoff contention the whole time.
Yeah, they did not have that bad of a season for them to just go out and firing people. They finished 9-8, right?
I think so, yeah. Just out of the playoffs. Yeah. After if the Packers lost, Seahawks were the next one in.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that much of an overreaction. Geno Smith did have a little bit of a down year, but
He
think
wasn't
he's
going to
good in
repeat
this.
what he did last year.
Yeah, but
He either
I don't.
wasn't.
I think he's a serviceable quarterback that can get you into the playoffs. I don't know if he can win a Super Bowl for the Seahawks, but until you find that right guy, I think Geno Smith is a good guy.
Yeah. And they have the talent. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing players.
Yeah.
I think Pete Carroll could have stayed a couple more years.
Yeah.
And from what I was hearing, it was an organization decision, not a Pete Carroll
Not Pete
decision.
Carroll, yeah. So maybe they
But
thought he was getting too old. But I mean, and honestly, that's not outlandish of a thing to think because he's
no,
72.
and I believe what they did was like they were like, "We'll give you a higher up job
Right.
if you
like if you stay in the organization.
If you resign from coaching, we'll give you a higher up job."
Right.
So they really were just like, "We kind of want you out, but we don't want to fire you."
Well, I think the thinking is put him in a position in the organization that he could still help the team,
Right.
make trades, draft picks, all this stuff on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's also good to have a younger head coach, that can relate to the players a little bit more. So keep him.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win. Keep him in the organization to keep helping the team, and get a younger guy that can fire up the players a little bit more, relate to them.
We saw what Antonio Pierce did in Vegas.
Yeah.
He changed that team.
Yeah, 100%. They were a different team.
I think that they are going to re-sign him. I think they should.
I
He
think they
clearly
should, too.
showed that like he could improve this team. Maybe go out and get another defensive player.
Yep.
And maybe a quarterback. Even though I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is all that bad. I don't think he's the answer.
I don't
but
think
he's
Jimmy
not that
Garoppolo
bad.
is that good of a quarterback. I mean, you kind of saw the difference between the 49ers offense and the Raiders offense. He was good on the 49ers, but that's because they had so many players. And
they're the 49ers.
And people are I'm just going to talk about the 49ers for a second. I think people are giving Brock Purdy way too much shade because everybody's saying he's only good because of the playmakers. Watch film. Like, just watch his throwing technique. Watch where he's placing these balls. It doesn't matter if you have an all-star team at every single position. If the quarterback's not putting these balls in the right positions, they're not making the catches.
I know. And
Jimmy
this.
Garoppolo was not making those throws at Vegas.
No, he wasn't. But I'm also a known Brock Purdy hater.
Yes. I'm a known Brock Purdy lover.
I know. Which we will get to.
We will.
And I just want to say one more thing about Pete Carroll. It's that, like, it's this season just kind of felt like the season where, like, the old coaches were going. I mean, we saw it with Bill Belichick.
Yep.
We saw it with Pete Carroll. And we even saw it with Nick Saban.
Yep.
He's also 72.
Yep.
And, like, I feel like that was just
retire,
kind of...
though. He's still at Alabama doing... He's just not...
But it's almost the same as Pete Carroll. Like, he's there,
right,
but he's not there. Like, he's not the head coach.
Right.
But I don't know. It just kind of seemed like the trend this year to me.
Yeah. A new era in football,
Yeah, it seems like it. The next topic I think we're going to go to is the remaining quarterbacks in the playoffs right now, and who's better than who. And I feel like there's like a big fall off from the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah.
Like, I think all 4 AFC quarterbacks are above all 4 NFC
yeah, that was I put that in my rankings too, yeah. Yeah. There's a clear division.
And yeah, do you want to start like 8-1?
Yeah, I'll start. So,
all right.
The worst quarterback I have right now is I'm going to say Baker Mayfield, just because he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Obviously, he won that one game in 2020 with the Browns, but I have his stats up: 4,207 yards total, a little more than 4,000 of those being passing yards. He had a career high 64.3% completion rate and a 29-10 TD to interception ratio. That can win you a Super Bowl right there. I'm just like, if he's not giving the ball away, those stats in themselves can win you a Super Bowl. But with the other quarterbacks, on this list, and combined with their playoff experience and the talent around them, I'm going to put Baker Mayfield at 8.
I 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think Baker's 8. And I honestly think that we're going to have different number 7. Like, I think I know who you're going to put, and it's going to...
I
I
know.
don't.
Did you put Brock Purdy?
No, I
Oh.
didn't. I put Jared
Oh, I
Goff.
put Jared Goff too. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, never mind.
Same wavelength. Um,
Yeah. I don't know. I just think he has playoff experience.
yep. He did lead the Rams to a horrible Super Bowl experience. A
Horrible Super
playoff.
Bowl.
What was it? 13-3 was it?
3, I
Yeah.
believe.
It's like the lowest scoring Super Bowl of all time.
Um, and he had an amazing season. He had
He
40,
did.
almost 4,600
He
yards,
did.
30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, which is very similar stats to Jordan Love.
Very similar. And that's incredible. Saying just that Jordan Love is, I'm not going to call him a rookie, but he's technically a rookie in that this is his first full season playing in the NFL. You know.
Which, yeah, but I feel like the one. So I have Jared Goff 7. I have Jordan Love 6, and the one thing that
That's
to
where I
me
disagree with
puts
you.
really,
Yeah,
you do think Jordan Love's the best in the NFC?
I do think Jordan Love's the best in the NFC.
I was thinking about it, and honestly, like, I feel like other than Baker, this order could be rearranged in any type of way.
Yeah. Because they all have their strengths and weaknesses.
I might put Love over Purdy, and that's because so I know we were just talking about Jared Goff, he has Sam Laporte, he has Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has all of these weapons, as does Brock Purdy.
Jordan Love does not have.
Not to discredit these Packers wide receivers.
Yeah.
But
they're not on the same caliber as Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra. You know, they're not
exactly.
The same. Christian Watson's an amazing player. Jalen Reed is a breakout wide receiver. I think he could be very well a top 15 wide receiver, top 20 wide receiver in the next couple years.
But like I feel like the Packers found like these random like Dontavion Wicks.
Yeah. I never heard of him other than me looking up fantasy, trying to see who I had to my roster.
Exactly. And even before this season, Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
Even their tight ends were stepping up. Luke Musgrave and I believe Tucker Kraft as well.
Tucker Kraft had a couple touchdowns.
But yeah, I think that's what puts Jordan Love ahead of these three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And like I said, Brock Purdy and Jared Goff could be rearranged in any order.
Right.
But I think right now, Jordan Love is
the best
NFC
playoff quarterback. Yeah. I mean, so my rankings were Jared Goff 7, Brock Purdy 6, Jordan Love 5. I put Brock Purdy ahead of Jared Goff just because I know it's only a second year, but if we're looking at the whole rather than just the quarterback, I think that Brock Purdy has a step above him because I feel like he also has that raw, quarterback ability that you don't find in a lot of guys, People were counting him out all season, and like I said before, he's making throws that Jared Goff tried to make, and they turned into interceptions.
And I also think that, at least to me, obviously Jared Goff's older than Brock Purdy, but even if they were closer in age, I think Brock Purdy will be able to sustain what he is doing longer than Jared Goff would.
100%.
Like he will have a longer prime than Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Which is why I think he's a step above him.
I agree with that. And Brock Purdy had by far the highest completion percentage in the entire league. It was almost 70%. 70% of a completion percentage is ridiculously high. He had a 33-11 touchdown interception ratio, which is amazing.
Also very similar to Love and Goff. Love was, I think, 32-11. Goff was 30-12. They're all very similar.
Yeah, so Brock Purdy had a 3-1 touchdown ratio, and then Jordan Love just had it was 3.2 or something, just because he had 36 compared to 33. But I regardless, Brock Purdy and Jordan Love, outstanding quarterbacks, and it's
going to be so fun to watch.
Crazy to say that, but I think the Packers have their third generational QB in a row.
They really do. I can't wait for that game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. At 4, I have Patrick Mahomes because.
Yeah, because I agree with that. Honestly, I had to think about who was in the AFC. I honestly agree.
I think he's the worst. At least this year.
This season. General, I was just about to say, preface that with this season.
Yeah, this season.
Obviously, he's amazing.
Yeah,
but
he is Hall of Fame quarterback, no doubt about
Down
it.
year.
No doubt about it. But 4,275 yards. That's not. That's not.
That's not
That's
Patrick
that's not.
Mahomes.
He was getting. He had
5,000
1,000 more
yards.
yards last season. That's
Yep.
basically the same as Baker Mayfield had.
Yeah.
A 63.9% completion rate. Not a career high. It's just an average number. You know. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong stat. He had a 67.2 completion percentage. That is a career high. I was looking at CJ Stroud. So that's my bad.
Oh,
67.2 completion percentage, and he had a 27-14
he.
touchdown intercept.
That was the
That's a
thing with
little
him this
less
year.
than 2-1
A lot
touchdowns.
of
That's a
turnovers.
lot of turnovers for somebody who has that much experience in the NFL. You know.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he's last. At three, I have C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
What he's done this season is actually
Unbelievable
incredible.
for a rookie
In my
quarterback.
opinion, I'm not 40 years old. I haven't been watching football for the longest time, but in my recent memory, I think this is probably the best rookie season
By a
by the
quarterback. It's the
quarterback ever.
best I've seen in a while. I'm
Because
trying to think.
he had
There's not much.
4,275 yards total,
Mm-hmm.
a 63.9% completion rate, and a 26-5 touchdown interception ratio. That's almost 5. That's a little bit more than 5-1. That and mind you, 3 of those interceptions came in one game.
Mm-hmm.
So if he played better that game, 26-2. Like that's crazy to think about it.
And he didn't give up a turnover. He didn't have a
No.
turnover for what, 8 weeks?
Yeah, he's getting the
It
ball to his
was.
guys. It's an incredibly young offense. They still have a lot to learn, and I think it's
Yep.
only going to get better. Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz has been playing great. He had a rejuvenated season. I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
I think 3 is the good place to put him. Do you agree with that?
100%. He's a rookie. You can't really
put him any higher.
No.
You can't put him any higher than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
Maybe next year, but even that's one thing I did want to say though. No, they will be back. This Texans team will be back.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I think Texans have never won a Super Bowl. I think in the next, 5 years, maybe 10 years.
I think they'll get there.
I think they. I don't know if they'll win it, but I think they will get there.
Absolutely, they'll get there.
Because how they can get it this season, if they played how they played against help me here, who they play against? I forgot.
This past week, the Browns.
Yeah, the Browns. Thank you. Sorry. By the way, I just want to say both of my predictions from last week were true.
All right. All right. I don't need to hear
it. But the defense played great. Offense played even better.
Yeah.
If they can keep it up, it's going to be a hard team to stop.
They absolutely will. And I'm looking. I was just going to say, I'm looking. I don't see any rookie quarterback seasons right now that are
much better than his.
Maybe Cam Newton 2011 is the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm also noticing is that all of these quarterbacks that I'm thinking about having these crazy rookie seasons, they're all rushing. They all run the ball.
Right. He didn't. He threw the ball.
Cam Newton. Everybody said that he had a great rookie season, which undoubtedly he did.
Yep.
4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns. He had 17 interceptions that year.
Yep.
But he rushed for 706 yards. He ran for 14 touchdowns that year.
Yep.
And that's without the tush push. Jalen Hurts had a lot of touchdowns, but he had the tush push.
Right.
Cam Newton didn't.
Shove.
Yes. Which
I just want to say the Buccaneers did stop that, but
they did. And did you see what Jason Kelce said about his retirement?
No.
That he doesn't know yet. That's not true. The reports are not true.
Oh, okay.
He basically said it was on New Heights, their podcast, and he was basically after a game like that, you're not in the mindset to make that kind of decision.
Right. Because you just came off of an incredible loss. You don't want to make that decision about the future.
No.
But he was getting pushed around he was getting pushed around. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's one of the best centers ever.
He's
Definitely a
absolutely
Hall of Fame center.
first ballot Hall of Fame, and you can't really say that about a lot of offensive linemen. First ballot Hall
Yeah,
of Fame.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I just wanted to
Just
talk about that really quick.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just going back to the rankings,
Mm-hmm.
I put Josh Allen at 2 and then Lamar at 1.
I
But I
did
mean,
too.
Lamar, you can't put him anywhere less than 1 because
When he's the
he's the
MVP, you
MVP.
can't put him.
You can't put him below because he's the MVP.
And the one thing I was thinking about is that like I feel like Josh Allen and C.J. Stroud are a lot closer.
Closer, yeah.
And the main thing being is Josh Allen had 18 interceptions this year.
Mm-hmm. A
Um,
lot of turnovers.
he had 29 touchdowns. That's not 30.
Nope.
Like he didn't even have
And
the rest of them
and
did.
a lot of the games, I was telling you every single time, either he plays like the greatest quarterback
Or he
alive,
plays
or
like
he
a
plays
child.
like a chicken without a head.
Yeah, like you never know you never know which Josh Allen you're gonna get. And
he had 4 touchdowns the other day and no interceptions. If he can keep that performance all throughout the playoffs, then the Bills are winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
But you just do not know. This offense is so inconsistent.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that puts Lamar ahead. And honestly,
Yeah.
obviously, he's the MVP. You can't put the MVP below someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar had 4,500 total yards. That's a career high. 67.2 completion percentage. That's also a career high. You can't rank him any lower.
Absolutely. So you want to get into our final section, the predictions for the divisional round?
I'm as ready as I can be.
All right. What game you want? So you want to just go with time slots? So we'll go Browns.
Yeah.
All right. They're Browns.
Well, not
Texans.
Browns.
Texans. Ravens. I think this game is, and I said this last week when we were talking about full playoff predictions, and when I said it was going to be the Browns, but I said that it would be tough for the Ravens to beat the Browns, but ultimately I think they would.
Yep.
I think it's the same story for the Texans, honestly. Like, this Texans team is so, like, they're young, and, like, honestly, I think the best way to describe it is, like, they're scrappy. Like, they just find a way to get it done.
Yep.
They're like the Lions.
They do not go
fight.
down. Yep.
No, not at all. And once again, I do think that the Ravens will ultimately win.
Yes.
But it's going to be a good game. We have some good games this weekend, I feel like.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. Out of all my predictions, I can totally see if one wins over the other.
Yep.
So
this is the one game where I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying for all of them, for all of the 4 games, I think either one has not an equal chance of winning, but I think they do have a very strong chance of winning. The Texans played an incredible game against the Browns. Everybody counted them out.
Absolutely.
Everybody counted them out. The defense would not let Joe Flacco rest.
No, they wouldn't. And that was
the offense
ultimately their downfall.
Yeah. But the thing is, I picked the Ravens because the Texans are heavy on injuries right now.
Yes.
Noah Brown is now out. Tank Dell has been out. Now Nico Collins is their only wide receiver. I think he's a great wide receiver, but I don't know. They can easily just put double coverage on him, and then I don't know if the other wide receivers or skill players can do much.
Have to heavily rely on their running, which hasn't been the best this year.
Yep.
I feel like Dameon Pierce had a very down year this year. Devin Singletary was able to step up, but I don't know if they
can't get the run game going, then I don't know if that's going to
I don't know if they'll be able to carry the workload, especially against the Ravens defense.
The Ravens, because the Ravens defensive line is
what? I believe they gave up the least amount of points per game this year. It was something like 16.
I think it was 16
which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the downfall of the Texans.
100%.
So what's the Saturday night game? Packers
49ers?
Niners?
Yeah, Packers.
Another great game.
I
can see the Packers winning.
I can see the Packers winning too, but I think the 49ers, because the Packers can put up a fight, but I think the 49ers overall, they're just they have more playoff experience
they're there every year
on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I mean Kyle Shanahan is an amazing coach. They have more skill players. They're just an overall better team, and they're home. I don't. Same with the Ravens. They're home.
Yeah, you can't count that out.
Home field advantage in the playoffs is
But
incredibly
I will
important.
say a fun stat that I know you hate. You always hate when I bring these up.
What one of
A,
these
a
silly
team
stats?
has never won the Super Bowl when they lost to Kirk Cousins in a season. And the 49ers lost to Kirk Cousins this season. Just want to say.
Yeah, and last year I saw a stat for the Giants that they won the Super Bowl every single year, being being like the underdog or something in the wild card,
Yeah,
and they got knocked out in the second round.
They got stomped out by the Eagles.
They got
but you know
stomped.
what? I love Kirk Cousins, and I think he will.
Kirko Chains, baby.
Yeah, I just think that he will help the Niners lose. Maybe not against the Packers. Division rival.
If the Packers make it to the
conference
NFC
championship, I think
conference championship,
I think they'll go to the Super Bowl. Honestly,
yeah, I honestly,
I think the Niners and Packers are the best two teams remaining in that NFC.
Yeah.
But no, I do think the Niners will win. I do. Yeah. I do want to say I do think the Niners are going to win.
The Niners, yeah.
I think this game might be the Bucks Lions might be the one game where we have different answers here.
Yeah.
I have the Lions.
So people may hate me for this, but I know the Bucks will be going away to Detroit, and Detroit fans got to give a round of applause to them. They had amazing game management against the Rams. Mm-hmm. Now, my prediction is the Bucks. However, the Lions could totally blow them away. But based on their game against the Eagles, if the defense played how they did, not letting Jalen Hurts even breathe.
No, not at all.
I don't see a team that can even throw the ball, run the ball, whatever, when this defense is playing at the highest caliber. And they were against the Eagles.
I don't disagree with you. I just think that the Lions are hungry for this. They will be home. Yeah, I think one of the big things is that they will be home. And I think that's a big factor.
I think it's a 50-50 for me. It is.
And as much as like we said, these two are the two worst quarterbacks remaining in our like we said, Jared Goff could be anywhere in that list, like in the NFC part of that list. And it's just like that. As much as I hate to say it, the Baker Mayfield magic has to run out at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And I think when that happens, the Lions are overall the better team.
My prediction is solely based on their defensive performance. Right. And if the defense doesn't play the same way they did against the Eagles, Lions are taking that 30-0.
Right. And I'm also sticking with what I said. I think I said it last week. I think whoever won the Rams versus the Lions was going to make it to the conference championship.
Yeah.
And I still think that is true. And I also think that the Rams would have beat the Buccaneers if they did win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same. Definitely same. But
yeah.
I don't know. I see both teams winning. I see it can go either way.
I think that's the closest game this week.
The Lions' offensive line is inconsistent. Jared Goff has taken a decent amount, has taken a relatively large amount of sacks this year. And did you watch the Bucs-Eagles game?
Not a lot of it. No, I was moving myself back in.
They were only rushing 4. They were really only rushing 4 guys, and they were dropping back all the others in the coverage. But those 4 guys were getting an insane amount of pressure on Jalen Hurts. If they rush 5, on Jared Goff's getting sacked. So and you've seen games. If Jared Goff cannot get a rhythm, that's when they lose games.
Oh, absolutely, it is. Yeah.
That's when they get crushed. So, but I mean, it can go either way.
I think that game is a little more 50-50 than the
Packers 49ers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not by much, honestly. Like, I think it's going to be close. I think all of these games this week are going to be very close, especially Chiefs-Bills. I think that game...
The rematch everybody has been waiting for.
And I, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, so I'm going to say now, I think the Bills are going to win.
Yep.
But I think people are getting too confident that the Bills are going to win.
Yeah. I think that the Chiefs are going to put up a fight, but I wrote this down in my notes. The Chiefs away at Highmark.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
That's the thing. This is their third matchup in the playoffs. The first two were in Arrowhead.
This is Patrick Mahomes' first away
playoff game in his career,
game.
Other than obviously the Super Bowl.
Right. But
and it's just, I feel like this is where Patrick Mahomes thrives, when he's the underdog. And last year, nobody thought they were going to win the Super Bowl last year at the beginning of the season, and look what happened.
Yep.
And like I said, I think the Bills are going to win, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to go down without a fight. There's just no way.
I don't think so either. But I mean, even though they won against the Dolphins, they didn't look that great of a team.
No,
that kind of
you're right. It was
Travis
cold.
Kelce was but Travis Kelce was dropping a lot. A lot of the receivers weren't really doing much. The run game wasn't really that impressive. So, but I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I think the Bills are just going to come.
Yeah, I think the Bills are going to come out on top, which obviously will give us Ravens versus the Bills and the 49ers versus the Lions, which
we will talk about next week.
If it happens. Either way, we'll be back next week talking about whatever happens in this week in football. And yeah, we will see. I'll see you in the next section.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening.
Thank you.
See ya.
Welcome to the next section of the podcast for this week. I'll be combining the NBA and the NHL into one because there's not much to talk about to me this week. For the NBA, I'll be covering the unfortunate situation for the Warriors, Pascal Siakam, and then one possible trade that I could see going down before the trade deadline. For the NHL, I will be talking about 3 All-Star Game snubs from the season's All-Star Game as the full teams are out. So let's just start with the NBA with some unfortunate news coming from the Warriors organization that assistant coach Dejan Milicevic, apologize if I butchered that name, but he unfortunately passed away this morning due to a heart attack, and he was 46 years old, had a heart attack at a private team dinner last night, and he was a good, amazing coach, won a championship with the Warriors, and it's just unfortunate to see. And this, unfortunately, also led to the Warriors-Jazz game for tonight being postponed. Just a very unfortunate situation coming from the Golden State Warriors organization. In a little lighter news today, Pascal Siakam got traded from the Raptors to the Indiana Pacers the Pacers gave them Bruce Brown and 3 first-round picks, which, in my opinion, I think is a little too much for Pascal Siakam. But you're improving your team, and I just think 3 first-rounders maybe is a little too much. Maybe 2 first-rounders, Bruce Brown, and another lower-end player would have been a little better for the Pacers. But I still think getting Pascal Siakam is a great improvement for this team that can definitely give them a nice push as we get closer to playoff season. And who knows if they're going to make another move leading up to the deadline. Speaking of the deadline, one possible trade I can see going down is, I believe Lauri Markkanen will get traded from the Jazz. I think the Jazz are going to sell house. This deadline, I think Kelly Olynyk will get traded. I think Lauri Markkanen will get traded. I think Jordan Clarkson will get traded. And I just think that they're going to sell house. And I think this trade for Lauri Markkanen benefits both the team that will be getting him and the Utah Jazz. So I think that the Utah Jazz will trade Lauri Markkanen and Kelly Olynyk, and I've been working on this all day. I've been thinking about this. Lauri Markkanen and Kelly Olynyk to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Ousmane Dieng, Trey Mann, and a couple of first-round picks. I think that they will trade the 2024 first round, which is top 4 protected, from the Houston Rockets. I think they'll trade the 2025 first round, lottery protected via the Miami Heat. And I think that they will also give up their own 2026 first round pick with no protections at all. And I think this benefits the Jazz because they are getting a lot of nice first-round draft picks. Yes, they're protected, but they're still getting these picks. And the Thunder, I think, are in win-now mode. Lauri Markkanen helps with that. Kelly Olynyk will be nice off the bench. And I think when you're in win-now mode, you need to make these moves, and giving up these picks can't influence your decision like as much as it maybe people think it should. But I think these picks and these players will ultimately give the Jazz some time to rebuild while not ultimately like being terrible. And it will also give the Oklahoma City Thunder two very, very good players in Lauri Markkanen, who is having somewhat of a down season this season, and Kelly Olynyk off the bench, who can go off at a moment's notice and have an amazing game himself. And I think, that is one of the biggest, that I believe is a trade that may be made as we inch closer and closer to the trade deadline. I think Lauri Markkanen is 100% getting traded. It's just a matter of where, and this is where I think he will end up. So we're going to go into our NHL section today. I told you this would be a quick little section of our podcast. This week is more of a football week. But with the NHL All-Star game coming up, I just want to quickly talk about three players that I think were snubbed out of selections. And one thing I want to say is I think it's crazy how the Metropolitan Division, so every team gets a representative in the All-Star game. The Metropolitan Division, that's all they have. There were no fan votes from the Metropolitan Division, which is crazy because, like you heard me say last week, that is the best division in hockey. And it's just wild that there are no other representatives, which two of my snubs are from the Metropolitan Division. So I'm going to start with the non-Metropolitan Division one in Jason Robertson. He's just an amazing player, and how he didn't get voted in the All-Star game, obviously Jake Ottinger was going to go in for the Dallas Stars. But when the fan vote happened and I saw Jason Robinson wasn't there, he's one of my favorite players, but I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. He should have made it. 15 goals, 30 assists with 45 points. That's a good season. That is an absolutely all-star caliber season. And maybe just the people in Dallas weren't voting, which is a very big possibility, which leads me to my next snub, Vincent Trocheck. People in New York do not vote for All-Star games. You can see it with the Knicks, you can see it with the Rangers, you can see it with the Yankees. They just don't vote when it comes to All-Star season, which is why so many people get snubbed from All-Star games. Vincent Trocheck, very similar to Jason Robertson, has 14 goals, 29 assists, 43 points, one less in each category. And he leads the league in face-off percentage. He has been he's been outstanding for the Rangers this season in the amazing season that they're having. Vincent Trocheck has been a nice bright spot on this team. And I just think that there are a bunch of Rangers that should have made it. Vincent Trocheck, Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, obviously Artemi Panarin, but as he said, he is expecting a child around that time, so he was not going to go if he was voted. Peter Laviolette is the coach for the Metropolitan Division, which sucks because he only has Igor Shesterkin. He has none of his players. It's not right. I think there should be other Rangers players, and I think Vincent Trocheck is the one, if there were to be one other, it should be. Vincent Trocheck's been playing outstanding this season. And yeah, the last one I want to talk about is Dylan Strome. And this is the one thing this is the one team I'm going to talk about where I think that the one that was selected as the representative should be changed. Tom Wilson, he's Tom Wilson. He's one of the biggest jerks in the league. And he has 12 goals, 8 assists for 20 points. I know the Capitals are having a down year, but that's not an all-star player. And I know you might say that the guy that I'm going to say is not an all-star caliber player, but he's more of an all-star player than Tom Wilson is. And that's Dylan Strome, who has 15 goals, 11 assists, totaling at 26 points. And Dylan Strome had, I believe, 63 points last year. Clearly a great player. And I think that he should represent the Capitals more than Tom Wilson should. Tom Wilson's a jerk. I don't think he should go to the All-Star game. But the season he's having doesn't seem like he even deserves it. And yeah, it's just quick session today. The three players I do think that were snubbed was Dylan Strome, Vincent Trocheck, and Jason Robertson. But who knows? Maybe they'll come in as reserves if someone else can't make it, someone else gets injured, someone else doesn't want to go. That always happens. There's always reserves. And I think these three guys are good options to be reserves for the 2024 NHL All-Star Game. So sorry about this short session today for the NBA NHL, but I didn't see much to talk about, and I wanted to cover these topics. I think these were the most important topics to cover for this week. So yeah, thank you for listening to this session, and I have a special session that will be our last section. We have a special guest on, all the way from Seattle, Washington, so stay tuned. Welcome to the final section of the podcast today, where we'll be talking about Washington sports with my friend from Seattle, Noah.
Yep, hello.
So you have a lot of opinions about the University of Washington, but
Yeah.
What do you think about the new head coach?
So Jedd Fisch, Arizona, I'm a Washington State fan, so not really too fond of Washington, but I do know that Arizona in the Pac-12 for the past maybe decade or so in the Jeff Fisch era had not much success. His greatest success was honestly in these past 2 years. Obviously, having Arizona beating Oklahoma.
I believe they
They beat Oklahoma in the bowl game. Huge milestone for that program. But I think it's a bad idea for Jedd Fisch to enter UW with high hopes. University of Washington just moved to the Big Ten, so they are dealing with teams like Michigan, Ohio State, those powerhouses that are obviously in national championship contenders almost every single year. Jedd Fisch and all of his assistant coaches are from Arizona. Historically, not good, and I think Jedd Fisch will bring some players from Arizona, is good players from Arizona to Washington. He already brought Peo, their tight ends and special teams coordinator. I don't think they're going to do good. I think Big Ten-wise, they're going to finish with below a 500 record. I think, especially being from the Pac-12, the new merging of the conferences, I think Oregon is going to do the exact same thing. I don't think they're going to succeed as well because they are struggling with travel. They have to send their football players from Seattle, Washington, and Eugene, Oregon, all the way to
the East,
Michigan,
basically,
all the way to Michigan, all the way to like
Ohio, Penn State. Like they have to go far.
Those are 6-hour flights that they're going to have to hotel them a day before. The players are going to be missing schoolwork, so eligibility is going to have a little bit eligibility troubles might come arise. As a from a player aspect, if I was on UW, I would probably, if I am a starter at UW, I would find a reason to either declare for the draft or transfer to a team that is going to have great success. One of those teams that I think is going to have great success, not being biased or anything, but Washington State and Oregon State, they are recently got scheduled with the Mountain West. So they're going to be surrounding their whole entire schedule. They're going to have their Washington State and Oregon State are going to play each other maybe 3 times. And the other 9 games are going to be Mountain West teams that they have historically beaten almost every single time. Oregon State versus Hawaii, Oregon State versus Wyoming, Washington State versus Colorado State. Those are uneven matchups, and I think those 2 teams are going to see prolific success within this next year until the Pac-12 situation obviously gets moved. Mountain West is good teams, though. Fresno State, they could easily go to the Pac-12. I keep forgetting that Colorado left as well. But yeah, teams like Fresno State, got teams like Boise State, teams that have won the Mountain West in history could probably make it to the Pac-12.
You think they'll reform the Pac-12 with these types of teams?
It's going to be hard. I don't know what they're going to do. They might rename it to not the Pac-12 since there's not a chance that they're going to get 12 teams.
No, there's no way.
Not the original 12. I don't know if Washington State or Oregon State are going to get moved or other. I don't know if you could see the Mountain West get disbanded. And the Mountain West becomes the Pac-12, and
they join conferences. Yeah,
they join conferences. That could very well happen. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. But obviously, this whole entire conference change is all for money, which is sad. But
it is. It's business. It's business.
It's the world we live in.
You said that the Pac-12 championship is just going to be Washington State versus Oregon State.
I don't know for sure, but if they're going to schedule the 2 Pac-12 teams in the Mountain West, the Pac-12 championship is literally just going to be whoever has a better record between Oregon State or Washington State. But if they're going to end up playing each other 3 times, then it's literally just who's going to be a better team. Hopefully, it's the Washington State Cougars. Go Cougs. I mean, it's also sad though. You're going to see a Pac-12 trophy in a trophy case, but It was from the year 2024.
It's the Pac-2 at this point.
Pac-2. Yeah. You had no competition to fight for that trophy. So I don't know what they're going to do. One thing I really find hilarious, though, is all the funding from the Pac-12 conference is literally just going to two teams.
Into two schools, exactly.
So the Washington State program and the Oregon State program are loaded with cash. You could probably see facility upgrades in the coming years.
So just take advantage of it.
Take advantage of it. Like, until a team like Fresno State hops in, that money's going to get split. And I think if I were a neighboring team in the Mountain West, I would want to join the Pac-12.
Yeah, and maybe the facilities and all that attracts some better players, like attracts recruits that maybe they wouldn't have gotten if they didn't get this.
Right. I would say, especially with a large amount of teams in the Big Ten and the SEC, there's obviously going to be more competition. There's going to be more games played. Right. Obviously, with the 12-team playoff picture coming in, those recruits that want to just get to the college football playoff, they don't have to go to a Bama to get there. They don't have to go to a Georgia. They can go to a Washington or Oregon, who's always going to consistently get an 8 seed, a 9 seed. Penn State's going to be there a lot more often. Michigan will be there every single time.
Michigan, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. And like you might see some sneakers in. Tulane will dominate the Sun Belt, or not the Sun Belt, whatever the conference they're in. There's going to be a couple Sun Belt teams in there. So Liberty,
they almost made that.
Liberty will be in the college football playoff. I know. Who would have thunk? Like, he's like Missouri.
Yep.
Like, the college football picture in the standings is so much different now. You can't really predict who's going to be in what.
Nope.
Because you're going to have a random team like Liberty, like historically Cincinnati, historically TCU, who are just random dark horses who win games every single time, get a super high rank, and you're going to see them play teams as the 9 seed, as the 8 seed, as the 12 seed.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of upsets. Like, anything can happen in that kind of playoff. Gosh.
I was rooting for the Pac-12 in the Washington versus Texas game, and just seeing how many people picked Texas over Washington, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Because every single time when they played Oregon their second time, underdogs. When they played Texas, underdogs.
I had Texas. I for sure thought Texas was going to win that game.
I thought it was going to be a great game because they did a lot of branding on the Alamo Bowl from the previous year. Texas versus Washington in the previous year, they played in the Alamo Bowl. And it was all, remember the Alamo Bowl. Don't count Washington out. The Pac-12 was there, and the Pac-12 showed up, and they made it to the national championship. And I think everyone expected Michigan to blow them out. It was kind of like, let Washington have their fun and let Michigan do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
J.J. McCarthy obviously did what he was supposed to do and win that game. He made do on his promise. Like, I think this year of college football is super fun, but it's also super exciting because we're going to see a new era of college football. Nick Saban's gone. Kalen DeBoer's coaching Bama.
What do you think about that? Do you think Bama's going to stay as good as they were with Nick Saban? Because it seems like Nick Saban's going to have a lot of his hands on this team, whether he's the coach or not.
Yeah, obviously Kalen DeBoer is made a statement saying that he's going to keep Alabama. He's going to try his best to keep Alabama the exact same. And the fact that Nick Saban retired is just his due diligence to make sure that Nick Saban's coaching style, his recruitment style, his play style is the exact same. Kalen DeBoer is a high-powered offense, but Alabama mainly structured their success around a stellar defense. And so I'm excited to see what Kalen DeBoer can do in Alabama. But as much as I hate to say it, I don't think I'll see – I'm going to predict it now. I don't think I'll see Alabama in the top 6 next year.
Right.
I think Alabama is definitely going to be in contention for the college football playoff next year. Obviously, it's the top
It's the top. Yeah.
But he's losing guys like Jalen Milroe, who's losing a lot of his star players to leave because they were recruited under Nick Saban. It's a hard job for any coach to replace a head coach.
So, do you think it'll be harder for Alabama to recruit players now that DeBoer is there?
Yeah. So DeBoer is put into a really bad situation where every single one of his current players and recruits that he has on dial is being told, "Hey, you're coming to Bama, but you don't have the same head coach. You don't have the same offensive coordinator. The players have all left from the previous team that said, "Hey, I'm hitting the dash. I'm going to the NFL." Right. So he's put into a situation where he has, I guess, a harder time recruiting players, but at the same time, he's trying his best to openly say it's the same Bama. It's the same Nick Saban.
Exactly. It's still Alabama.
It's still Alabama, yeah. But it's the same stadium. It's the same program. You're just under a different head coach. And that head coach is a major part of recruiting. People go to Bama to be under Nick Saban, to say, hey, Nick Saban's put this many people in the NFL. Nick Saban's gone to this many championships. He's in this many rings. He wins games. That's basically it.
Exactly.
And especially at the level that Bama plays, if Bama doesn't get consistent good recruiting classes, they will fall in the SEC.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
I do see Bama staying in the college football playoff, though, now that there's a 12-team playoff.
Exactly.
Bama, I think, will, especially at the end of the season when they start picking things up, they'll finish between the 6 to 12 area very consistently. It's going to be very rare to see them drop out of that.
Do you think, I know we're talking about Missouri, do you think Missouri has the potential to jump them in the SEC?
I liked Missouri this year. I really liked Missouri this year. And they were kind of under the radar. No one really saw them, but the college football playoff committee obviously saw them. They just kept on winning games.
Right.
And that quarterback list, I can't even name their quarterback.
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea what
you see the famous picture of him standing in front of the student section. It looks super sick. I see just a bunch of TikTok edits about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, Missouri's hype.
They are.
But Missouri's history isn't hype.
No.
They I don't want them to have one season wonder, but because I would love to see them in the college football playoff. I think that whole entire Midwest Missouri, Missouri always gets counted out. Oh, Missouri is not really the SEC. Missouri is kind of like the Vanderbilt of the SEC.
Right.
They're kind of buns, but this year they would have been in the college football playoff if the 12 team would have this year. They were in the top 10. So I really like Missouri. I think Missouri is. I really want Missouri to do well this year.
I do too.
But at the end of the day, they're a program that hasn't really given himself much credibility.
So yeah, exactly.
So they could be in the out of the top 25. They could be at the 18 rank. They could be anywhere. They could really be 7. It really just depends on how well they want to play. Their coach is doing really good things over there. I hope they keep things the same because that program is going to see great success if they do. So yeah,
I think. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, being from the Seattle area, is what do you think? Do you think it was right for them to fire Pete Carroll? Okay. Get rid of Pete Carroll. They didn't officially fire him. They didn't really
fire him, but he is 72 years old. Same age as Nick Saban retiring. Pete is old. Pete is known for having that spark of energy. He'll be jumping and screaming on the
running all over the field.
He'll run all over the place. His age is just literally out of the window.
It's just a number for him. It's not. It doesn't do anything.
He's chewing his gum. He's having a great time. He's throwing headsets around. He's a great coach. But this past season, there was obviously some questions on why did the Seahawks do so bad, especially with how good of a team they are. They have one of the best receiving cores ever. Their defense was stellar. Devin Witherspoon, a rookie, leading that. And obviously, it's not really the head coach's fault for a quarterback's failure, but I wouldn't even call it a failure. Geno was injured for middle of the season.
He was.
Drew Lock literally beat Philadelphia.
He did.
I was at that game.
Drew Lock stepped up in that game.
The quarterback room isn't bad. The fact that a team has an average season where they go 8-9, I don't think they should be I don't think Pete Carroll should be blamed for that. But obviously the owner, the panel, they obviously think that hey,
it was time for a change.
It was time for a change almost. And there's been many changes. Obviously this Seahawks team has history of having that Legion of Boom, having that Russell Wilson star talent quarterback, where they have a high-powered offense with an absolutely hard-hitting, crowd-soaring defense.
Right.
And that defense is there, but the offense wasn't, especially with players like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker, Noah Fant. They have star power all around the offense, and you had Geno Smith backing it, and I think one thing that probably led to his firing was extending Geno for how much money he did.
Right.
Obviously, it was the GM's decision, but it's under the influence of Pete Carroll. Now, Pete Carroll is still in the building. Pete Carroll is the personality of the Seahawks. He's the heart of the Seahawks. But I really, I think the owners made a good decision in that a change was a good thing.
With him still being involved with the team.
He is still involved with the team, so they didn't obviously fire him. They obviously, he's still on good terms with them. He's definitely going to be a good advisor. He's definitely going to get an impact out of Pete Carroll because Pete Carroll has say. I feel like Pete Carroll deserves a say in what happens to the Seahawks. Just as much as Nick Saban has a say in Bama. Whoever the next head coach is, I think they should take that team, take Pete Carroll's advice very well. Obviously, he's a veteran coach. He's won a Natty and a Super Bowl.
Right.
One of 3. And whoever coaches that next team, I really hope they do well. Obviously, it's my team. Right. It's the Seattle Seahawks. But I really hope whoever coaches the next Seahawks next can prove the board and the voters correct. I think a change was greatly needed. Just because when you watch a game and you see what happens, the Seahawks were, I think, the most penalized team in the league.
I think they were up there.
They were up there. And when I went to go watch the Philly game, deflect all around. I'm like, bro, we just like it's not necessarily like a player fault. It's just like stupid mistakes. And coaching shouldn't be making those stupid mistakes, but a coach will help.
Mm-hmm.
So
the pieces are there for them to succeed, obviously, because they have succeeded.
They've succeeded, dude. When Drew Lock beats the Philadelphia Eagles,
I know.
That's how you know, like, dude, it's not necessarily the team. It's really not the team. The team is great. Obviously, I mean, you could blame the Philadelphia Eagles for sucking that day, but like, Philadelphia Eagles were Super Bowl contenders at the start of the season. Obviously, they're out now thanks to Baker Mayfield, but like,
it was.
They've beaten great teams.
It was time for a change, and I think the pieces are there for the next head coach to succeed with this team.
Correct. But yeah. Seattle has a lot of change coming its way. State of Washington, the Pacific Northwest has a lot of change coming their way.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So I'm super excited to see what happens.
All right. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever you listen to this, watch this on. And the socials, everything will be down in the description below. And come back next week for episode 3 of Beyond the Bench podcast. Thank you.